Oh, that was a bit awkward just starting straight on my face, but that's life. Sometimes it just goes straight for the face. Welcome to the first proper objective and secure stream, if you want to call it that. This is us going through a new setup that I've put together. I've got some new um I've got some new transitions. I got a new title screen, as you can see right now. And I've set up a couple of new cameras, some new lights. So feedback is going to be great from everyone. Let's get some music going, shall we? I hear the kids are into, if I can find my mouse. Yeah, the kids are into some synthwave. So I think that's what we're gonna go on in the background. Let me just turn on my headset here. We're off to a little bit of a shoddy-waddy start, but let's make it. What we're going to be painting some Age of Sigmar. Leave these liberators. You got to bear with me. I am coming from a Warhammer 40,000 world into an Age of Sigmar world. I don't know the names of things that well yet. Oh, I was on a new chair, which just isn't what I'm rating. Okay, so as you can see, I sub-assemble. There's two options when it comes to painting, really. There is you either let me try out this face cam. I know it's not great seeing my face, but it's good for the brand. And of course I knock off my headset straight away. Hi team, I'm Jack. Also known as Wilsonius in some circles. Feel free to call me whatever. Today, we're going to be doing some painting, like I said, and as the stream says as well, I'm here to talk about mental health with anyone that's having any struggles at the moment. Sometimes it's hard to find a safe space where you can talk about challenges you've gone through or you're going through. Sometimes it's hard to find a person to talk to that you can trust, or or you feel like you got that connection with. I mean, the benefit of doing it online is you can stay anonymous. I don't know you from your username. No one does. So I hope that these streams can give you the confidence to maybe come on and discuss something that you're going through or you've been through, so you can help other people. I'm by no means an expert, but I've gone through some challenges in my life, which I'm happy to discuss, and I will be talking probably to myself for a good long time. So we'll just be chatting, and I'll just be talking whilst we paint. I'll keep an eye out for chat, see if anyone jumps on. But we're doing this for fun. I'm just streaming whilst I paint. So let's get around to doing that, shall we? Let's switch over to the POV cam. Look at that transition. In the business, we call that a striker. I did not know that until I got my hands into the stream apps. God, this chair, I'm gonna freaking murder it. Okay, so bear with me whilst I move my mic so I can see what I'm doing. So we got these dudes I've gone with dual hammers, and you can carry one with a great hammer. And I decided to go out there a little bit by doing a magma hammer rather than just a plain gold one. See if we got the light levels right on this bad boy. So I followed Lord and Savior Duncan Rhodes tutorial. Didn't have one for hammers, but had one for swords, which I've used before. So it's all about doing the transition from the dark colors through to the light to get that impression that there's light emitting from the front and it's cooling off towards the back. Then I tried to be more clever and try and do an ice one, which, to be fair, was effective. And so I'll probably shy away from that moving forward. But as you can see in what I was jabbering on about before we got to us doing a proper introduction, is that I sub-assemble, which means I do one part at a time and then put the whole model together. This is because I have shaky hands and I can't get into those details. I don't know how people can, but they have a lot of respect from me because it's a lot quicker doing it that way. We've got a guy in our local Monterey community here in California, Mythic Games community, shout out to Mythic Games, who can just paint and put things together and just smash it out in like a day. He can do a unit and I just can't do that because I don't know, it's just my preference. So I've done some work on these guys previously. It's looking good. I went with Stormcast Eternals because they're most what I'm used to, as you can probably see next to my friend Brian here. I am an Ultramarines man. And we got an Annihilator here, which I painted up to look as much like an Ultramarine as possible. Blue, red, gold. And yeah, I'm doing that because it's what I'm most comfortable with. So we're at a point with this where we are good to go with some washes. So the way that I usually do this is that I will prime with a rattle can, and I do that with my Crag Blue from Citadel, and then I go through with a dry brush and do a little bit of edge highlighting. In fact, I think this one doesn't actually have any edge highlighting on it yet. Let me have a double check. No. So what we'll actually be doing today, which is interesting, is some edge highlighting. And I'll show you the colors in which I use for that. This is called making up content as you go. It's what the pros do. Like I said, I base and prime with rattle can, my Crag Blue, and then I will dry brush in a mix of faded ultramarine and this awesome stuff from Procryl called metallic medium. This basically turns any color into a metallic, which for me is what I wanted with the Stormcast, because I feel it gives it more that oldie times. With my Ultramarines, I'm completely matte. There's no shine on them whatsoever, but these guys are going to be different. So I got my wet palette here. If you guys haven't used the wet palette or don't use the wet palette, I'd advise looking into them. For me, they help get the texture of the paint right, and plus it saves a lot of money on paint, because after you're done with your day's painting, you can just lock away and seal it up nice and tight. I use an exemplar one. I used to use an army painter one. The only reason I got the exemplar one is because it's got a larger surface area. I'm not going to use my hurricane mixer because I don't think that's going to be very good for the mic here, so bear with me as I do the old school manual shake here, and we're just going to do a 50-50 mix of faded ultramarine and metallic medium. Hello, viewer. Thank you very much for joining. feel free to talk in chat. I can see I'm all flustered now. I'm on multi-stream, so I'm not sure whomst it is or where'st you're coming from, but you're welcome. Thank you for joining us here it's a late evening, kind of, for a man of the wrong side of 30s like me. But it's just going to be a fairly quick stream. So I can learn what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong with the lovely critics, which are the Warhammer fandom. So what's new in Warhammer? Chaos at the moment, which is great. We got a Spearhead League being run by my friend Eon at Mythic Games, which I am gutted that I'm missing because it just seems like a lot of fun. But when you suffer from chronic pain and also have a toddler, it's hard to find that dad time. So I've put her to bed. Well, we had dinner. My wife gave her dinner, then I did bath time, and then my wife put her down for bed. And I thought I'd jump on here and see what's going. So we'll probably be on around this time most evenings. And as you can see here, I've mixed the paint together. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to get it so it's a nice even consistency. And then I make sure I load up the brush and I do a little twist like this to get the excess off, but also to make sure we keep a nice tip on the brush. So this is going to be a challenge as I'm used to painting with nothing in front of me, and if you saw my setup, which I put online earlier, you will see that I have a big old handy cam in front of me. So we'll figure this out as we go along, but we're just gonna get on the edges here and do some edge highlighting. I've only recently started doing edge highlighting because I think it just adds a nice dimension to the model itself. Rather than just leaving a dry brush on there, it really kind of accentuates the details in the model itself. And these new Stormcast and new just Age of Sigmar models in general have got so much lovely detail on them compared to the 40k ones. And that's not bad mouthing Games Workshop and their 40k line. I know people love to, but I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Primaris. I like what they're doing at the moment. It's just the setting of Age of Sigmar has just got you got more opportunity to go a bit out there with magic and knights in armor. When you have space marines, you want them to look sleek, look tactical, and that means sometimes they don't get adorned as much in and don't worry if you're doing edge highlighting and you bugger it up a bit, because you can always get to it quickly with your thumb and it saves the day. Yeah, you don't get as much of a chance unless you're working with a librarian or a certain character, or maybe demons or harlequins and things like that. But then again, you've had some great looking orc characters come out, like Snickrot. I love him. He looks fantastic. And you've got the new Blood Angels models that are announced the other day. The Death Company, the Chaplain and Jump Pack, Some people have complained, shock, that he looks kind of silly for Primaris because he looks short, but it's all about perspective. That guy looks like he's either landing or getting ready to do a jump in his jump pack. And then you've got Azeroth, which a lot of people are complaining about the lack of detail in him. But when you compare him to his old model, it looks just Primaris-sized, really. It just looks like it's been scaled up. The pose is very similar. And yeah, I personally don't see all the problem about it. I mean, the big thing is the price. Price and models are pretty crazy. It's expensive. And lots of people are turning to 3D printing. You just notice I just did a lot of the model edges there on that one loaded brush. So you don't need a lot of paint to do edge highlighting, but we're going to go back and we're going to load up this brush. And I know I got some at the base of the brush, which is a big no-no, but I'll show you what I do to sort that in a little bit. But we've still got some edges here that need some highlighting going to them. So anyway, like I was saying, I think people just like to complain. And the big thing today with Games Workshop posting their profits, it's a lot of people not liking the sound of that, when I think we should be celebrating it, because in the long run, if they are making more money, it means more R&D. I mean, prices are always going to go up with inflation, and this is a hobby that you should go into with your eyes wide open, that if you're buying everything firsthand, you're going to be spending a lot of money, but the price increase that happened this year, that happens every year, that everyone seems to get up in arms about, is I have a friend that works inside Games Workshop, and he explained to me, basically, listen, if you're buying a 2,000 point army, and I'm just here, but just to make things easy, but if you're making a 2,000 point army with the new price hike, last year you'd be spending $1,000 on a 2,000 point army. With this year's points increase in cost, it's going to cost you maybe $1,050. So people see these numbers and they hear price increase and they go a little bit crazy with it, calling for boycotts and all this kind of stuff. When it's a hobby. This is a luxury which I budget for, because painting is my form of meditation. It helps me with my mental health. I get to just focus on one task and kind of block out everything else. And yeah, it's what I budget for. I don't do anything else, really. I'm not really a drinker or a party guy. I got all that out in my 20s. And it's how I socialize. So, like I've mentioned before, Mythic, FLGS down in Monterey. When I'm feeling fit enough and the chronic back pain isn't playing up too much, I'll go down there and I'll play a game, and I'll see a bunch of people who I call my friends. and I've made some good close friends from this, from when I had none. If you can't tell from my accent, no, I am not Australian. That's the first thing most people usually go for. I'm English. I emigrated over here about just over 10 years ago to marry my wife. Shout out to Meg, light to my life. And, moving 5,000 miles away, I have no regrets. But, it was tough when you're in your 30s to go out and make friends. It's not like you're put in those social situations like you are in school or college. So I started off by joining a semi-pro American football team. Shout out to the Salinas Valley Spartans, and had them as my friendship group for about 4 or 5 years whilst I played. But then as soon as I retired, they dropped off really quickly, which is sad, but I can kind of understand it. I'm not with them training anymore or anything, so there's no resentment there by either party. It's just life. And then after that, I did airsoft. Shout out to the Armadillo Airsoft team. Looking to get back into that in the next year or so if my back permits it. And unfortunately had to stop that because the local field shut down, and the next closest one was a 6-hour round trip. So I could only do these milsims, military simulations, which are big, like 72-hour events that take part on there's one which I'd go to that I'd take part on an old airfield, which is like a 7-hour drive. It's super fun, but I couldn't do more than one a year. And now with my back, I'd have to see if they'd let me bring like an inflatable bed or something, which gets kind of mocked at because you're supposed to be military hard man. You're supposed to go at it and give it that approach, which is difficult now. So, I was looking for something, and just before my daughter was born, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go on Amazon and pick up a Warhammer kit of Devastators and just paint them for some fun. And then after that, I needed more models and went down to Mythic, and then it just went from there. I met Scott, the manager. Shout out to Scott, fantastic guy, really community focused. Has done a lot for a lot of people there. And I started out just wanting to paint because my daughter had just been born. I'd get up at 3:00 to do a feeding, and then I'd be looking for something to do. And I thought, why not paint? And I just started just pumping out Ultramarines. And it just went from there. Then went down and met some of the guys, and they talked me into playing a game, and kind of got hooked from there. So I hope you can see the difference now of me putting the highlights on the edges. Now what we will do tomorrow is we'll go into the washes and doing the recesses here in a dark wash. So then accentuates the highlights, it adds that depth to it. We'll recess behind here, down here, around the back here, and in between these lines, so we can really show some difference there. And then we'll start putting some color washes on top of this gold, and we'll start talking about color theory, because I'm going to put a red wash on top of this gold, and you might be thinking, Wilsonius Jack, what are you doing? But you'll see the differences there, and you'll see how we'll level it out with some silver dry brushing as well. But I think that's going to be it for tonight, guys. It's going to be a nice, quick, easy one. Oh, I did say I was going to show how I got rid of the paint on on the no part of the brush. If you're a painter and you've not used this brush preserver before, it's like $10 or less off Amazon, and it will last you. I've had this for 8 months now, and you can see there is still a lot left in the tub. And all I do is I just roll my brush on it like I'm doing when I'm trying to get the excess paint off it, just to get a nice covering on the brush. Then I go over to we're testing out the overhead camera, but I'm trying to figure out how to fix out all the glare that comes with it. And it does like to turn itself off, so we'll go back to the POV side. We're live, this is how we're doing it. So I roll it over, and we'll bring it over the water, and we'll give it a nice rinse in the water. And then I always have kitchen towel laid down so I can dry my brushes. And I'm having a check now, so before I show you guys I don't look stupid. As you can see now, the no part of the brush, and when I say that, this very part of the bristles here is paint free. So that's what we do. And if you extra careful, it's like hair conditioner, you can leave some on and just keep your brush like that, and then before you have your next painting session, just give it a quick wash off, and you'll notice that the bristles will hold their tip a lot nicer. And yeah, so a short but sweet stream, guys. Thanks for coming along. If you did come along, because my hat is messed up. Apart from the logo, everything else is messed up. Thanks for coming along. Not that much chatting about mental health today, because we did not do that longer stream. But if you did come along, I really appreciate it. If you have any suggestions on the critiques, constructive critiques, I don't want to just have someone banging on at me because of my accent or something, or they don't like ultramarines or whatever. You know, you can do that if you like. If it makes you feel better, I'm used to it. You know, that's me. This is what we're going to be on about. And I'd like to give a shout out. I haven't set this up on my Steam Deck yet, but if I can give a shout out to these guys, they are responsible for my phone's going off now. Professional streamer here. These guys are responsible for my for the animations. The actual design itself was done by my good friend Dom O'Neill. I'm working on getting his socials put in here as well. Bear with me, Dom. But much love to you for doing the Objective Insecure logo. And that's me, guys. Quick 30-minute. Hopefully we'll get some more in tomorrow, and maybe a bit longer. Hopefully we'll get to finish off this model, because we should just be finishing up the highlighting, the washing, and then gluing it together. Okay, team. As always, please stay happy and healthy, and don't be afraid to reach out on any of the socials if you've got things that you want to discuss, or if you want brought up on stream, be it painting or be it about mental health. Just look after yourselves. You're wanted, you're needed, and you're loved.